What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Stacks by the Numbers. Hope everyone had a decent week here. Today is Friday, and I hope moving forward everyone has a decent weekend as well. Sticking with the trends here, I'm going to jump into another marijuana company here that you guys might be eyeing. I just want to round out the rest of the sector here if I can, do another company or two. Company I'm looking at today, Curaleaf Holdings. Now, this company here listed on the OTC markets, which of course is the over-the-counter markets, and it trades under the ticker symbol of CURLF. Now, obviously, the stock is also listed on the Canadian exchange, but here in the States, this is the stock you can pick up, the symbol, if you'd like. Again, sitting here at a little over $5 a share. Had a nice jump today here, touch over 12% on the day. And, we're going to look at the numbers. We're going to look at a couple of things, and we're going to see how it's looking overall. First of all, if we click here year-to-date, you can see that the stock is down roughly 40% year-to-date, and, probably would be even more minus the big jump here today. However, since inception, you can see that it has been rocky, it has been volatile, and the reason why these companies are so uncertain is because, a lot of people are waiting for, like the safe banking bill to pass. They're apparently trying to just tie it in and shove it into other defense legislations and stuff and get it pushed across. Of course you have someone like Schumer, here in New York trying to push something like that through. I mean, honestly, I really don't know how to look at this whole legalizing marijuana thing. I really don't, right? Because first you had the war on drugs. And it was if you're caught with smoking a joint, it's looked at like a hardcore drug. And, they locked people up for ridiculous amounts of time. People were caught with half an ounce of marijuana, that they just picked up, and they're doing 6 months, a year, or 3 years, or whatever. So, they gave a lot of these people maximum sentences, and that's why there was a lot of backlash as well. Not to jump into politics and current events, but if you guys heard about that WNBA player, Brittany Griner, even Joe Rogan said on his podcast, Brittany Griner, she was arrested over there in Russia for having some CBD vape cartridges or whatever the heck she was holding. And, like Rogan mentioned on his podcast, shout out to Joe Rogan. He was saying, we've had people locked up in this country years ago that are still locked up for essentially the same or even less than what she did, right? And that's here in the States. And we bend over backwards and jump through these hoops to get her back from Russia, right? And who is really advocating for our quote-unquote, domestic criminals who, got caught with a couple of bags of marijuana and, now it's on their record, they're marked as a felon, right? But anyway, I really don't want to get into all that, but like George Carlin said, right? It's all bullshit and it's bad for you. So we'll push that to the side. Curaleaf Holdings, one thing is, I'm here in New York. I pulled up a random location because when you go to their site, it says, find a dispensary. And, I just wanted to show you guys, if you click on categories here, you can see you can buy straight up marijuana. They have pre-rolls, which is basically they roll it for you. If, if you have arthritis or you just don't want to do it yourself, they can pre-roll it for you. Vaporizers. Obviously, they've been around for several years. You have the concentrates and the edibles. You have, now they have aura gels. And, of course, topical ointments and whatnot. Accessories. I don't know what accessories we could be looking at here. Oh. Curaleaf Concentrate Warmer. Oh, all right, whatever. So, there's a bunch of stuff that they sell. And apparently business is going well, right? We have a market cap of $4.5 billion. We come down here, we look at the numbers. Again, this company is net income negative. However, definitely doing a lot more business and more consistent business than some of the other companies that we looked at, right? This company's maintaining, look at this, $300 million in change with increases on the last 2 quarters respectively, right? Which you have to appreciate. And look at this. If you go back, 4 or 5 years, 2017, 2018, 19 million jumps up to 77 million, and then look at this massive number, right? So this is like more than a 300% jump. 77 at 220, again, like almost a 300% jump. And look at that, 600 and a quarter million. That's another 300% jump. And now it finally slowed the multiple slightly to roughly 200% jump. And now, as of last year, 1.2 billion in total revenue. That is phenomenal business. This is why I was saying when we were looking at the other companies that, like we spoke about, the Canadian marijuana company investing into the other North American company here to take advantage of our markets here in the States, and then you have companies like this. That's why you always have to try to find, again, the best investment. Just because they open dispensaries or, they sell some marijuana doesn't mean the stock is going to fly to the moon, right? You might have a trash CFO. They might not reinvest their assets properly. Who knows what could possibly happen? Maybe they're making products that just don't appeal to the public, right? So they're not turning over inventory as fast as some of these other places. But as we can see, this company, Curaleaf, looks absolutely phenomenal. Even here in net income negative, again, last year 1.2 billion, and we come up here again 4.5 billion, right? So they're trading less than 4 times last year's revenue, which of course, if you look at the negative net income, could be viewed as overvalued, but also at the same time, you could technically say that is potentially fair valued, right? So that's why, in my opinion, if I did have to roll the dice, so to speak, and invest into a marijuana company, I would definitely invest into a company like this, as opposed to some of the others that we looked at, because just on paper, not only is the business growing astronomically, and again, quarterly, they're maintaining that level of revenue, but more importantly, they're trading at a much smaller multiple, right? So just looking at that, in my opinion, Curaleaf really not looking too bad right now. Again, we looked here already. I just wanted to switch over here to TradingView, right? Because, I do know that it's gotten a lot of attention. People are trying to pump it up for the the Safe Banking Act and whatnot. However, again, technical analysis here. This was basically like a huge descending wedge. It fell off a cliff. Even if you switch the stock chart, see how it just started to massively start to pull back here, basically going into December. However, algorithms, traders, investors, they do look for technical patterns. And this is basically like a huge descending wedge. It really didn't matter where you draw these trend lines, right? It's still basically a descending wedge, any way you want to draw it. And, there you go. You have a massive pop out. It reclaims and bounces off of that moving average and, has since been rising. And, they want to, if you look up the company today, it'll show you a news article, talking about them trying to push the safe banking through or whatever the heck. And, I really, in my opinion, don't think that's what it is. Right? I mean, it's popping out of this wedge, and as you can see, this is like the resistance support zone right here. Look, about 518, right? And if we look today, top left, what was the high of the company? 520, right? And then it pulled back, and it closed here where it is here at 516. So, it's basically just regaining a little bit of traction, from where it was, getting back to that pivot point, in my opinion, coming out of this descending wedge. This isn't something where, they're talking about the Safe Banking Act, Curaleaf was up 12% today, I got to jump in, right? In my opinion, that is no way how I'm looking at this company. I would still wait, because remember, I know that someone brought it up in the comment section as well, talking about the safe banking. I know I didn't mention it, but you have to remember, first of all, even when something like that happens, it doesn't happen overnight. Second of all, a lot of these companies on paper don't look as good as we want them to, or we hope they would look. And third of all, I believe the comment was on the Tilray video where the individual mentioned this. And, my response was very simple. Like, yeah, it might bring institutional investors into the sector, but also at the same time, would they be investing into Tilray? Right? Would that be their go-to company? And again, we looked at CGC, we looked at Tilray, and here we're looking at Curaleaf right now today. And again, I'm going to try to get to, one or two others, but, right here on paper, I would most likely invest into this one, in my opinion, compared to the other ones, and I know they're larger. So, this is what I always say. right? When we're talking about investments, especially if you're looking for the long term, it is all about pricing and timing. CGC used to be, what, 30 and change? Now it had, massive pullbacks and whatnot. Same thing with Tilray, was raging. Everyone got their stimulus money. Young people, they basically invested into Tesla, Bitcoin, and like weed and EV stocks, basically, right? Because I guess that's all young people know, unfortunately. And there were so many brand name companies out there in more necessary sectors where we could have allocated our assets. And we could have seen some serious growth here over the years. And my main point is, this thing just broke out of a descending wedge at roughly, 4.5 and change. So why would I buy it at 516 when I could potentially get filled at 416, right? Now, I'm not saying it's going to immediately crash. However, again, this was a pattern setting up. People were hoping that this bill was getting passed, even though chances are it's probably not going to by the end of the year, and there's only a couple of weeks left here. But also, we all seen it before. After they pop out of these patterns, they do begin to, sell off and basically get back to where they were. So, basically overall, I do like Curaleaf a little bit more than some of the others we looked at. However, I might let it calm down. My rule of thumb is you really don't want to take a position in a stock, especially when it just had a 12% pop, right? So again, even if you wait for here, look, I'm sure you guys would rather get filled at 485, 475 as opposed to 516, right? But that's just my 2 cents. And real quick, again, if we switch over here to stock charts, you can see obviously it had a massive sell-off, and then we had a huge pop here. So the RSI rebounded. It's a touch over 40 right now. You can see as it was selling off, it pulled back right to that blue line there, that 50-day moving average of 587. It tried to bounce up and regain that support, but of course it continued to break down and sell off. The MACD obviously straight down, along with the stock. So we might potentially see a curl there on the MACD, but I don't know if I would bank on it, right? Company's now been trading long enough. It has established a 200-day moving average on the weekly. It's sitting here at roughly 8.5. And, as we can see, we had a big rise here. It looks like it's been slowly trying to climb basically since mid-year, but, again, has since pulled back, tried to maintain that 50-day moving average, roughly 6.25, and broke straight down through it. And now you even looks like you have a MACD potentially crossing, creating even more of a sell-off moving forward potentially. So, just stay sharp on this one. But, might not be the worst stock to invest into. Actually, if we look here real quick, let me see something. The low on this was 448. The low on this was 450. Right? So that also could be going on as well. I did show the descending wedge, but also you could potentially say that there was a double bottom here, and now you're starting to see a little bit of momentum, right? So again, it could rise up here, a few more percentages to the high fives, but in my opinion, I would be a buyer like high fours, maybe even mid four, low fours, right? Let it cool down, let it get out of the news cycle, and then if you want, you can position yourself at a cheaper price moving forward, with hopes, basically, that safe banking bill goes through. But, well, I'll leave it there. I just wanted to do a quick little analysis on another company in the sector. So, once again, this is Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually very quick to reply. Just like everyone on YouTube says, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Helps out the algorithm, helps me get a few more eyes on the channel. If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to me personally, of course, watching my community grow. Hearing the feedback from you guys in the comments section, whether it's pro, con, middle road, it doesn't matter. I love to engage with you guys, just discussing these things. And like I always say, the more information you arm yourself with, the more we analyze these companies, and break them down and have a little back and forth. That is only going to help you moving forward, hopefully, make a better educated decision. Right, so we'll leave it there. Happy Friday to you guys. I really hope you all have a good weekend. And, hey, thanks for stopping by. I'll see you guys next week. Take care.